introduce Valerie, who we're very happy
Yes.
who is going to play for us.
Yes, Valerie, I'm so excited that you're here, and I'm just going to read your bio, 'cause I'm not good at just talking. Valerie Carricato is an American drummer, best known as a member and tour manager of the band Fireline. Valerie has been on various other albums over her 15-year music career. As both a live and session drummer, she plays all styles from jazz to hard rock and everything in between. Valerie has appeared on the New York-based radio show Around the Kit as a guest host. In 2016, Valerie participated in the Guitar Center Drum-Off and went on to the quarterfinals for Colorado. In 2018, she was nominated for the Musician of the Year at the Rocky Mountain Country Music Awards. She is currently endorsing 7 drums, Hums and Berg custom drum cases, London drumsticks, Sabian cymbals, and sledge pad innovations. Wow. When not on the road or in the studio, Valerie enjoys teaching drums and percussions in her home studio. She also prides herself in philanthropy and hosts many charitable events for military and first responders in her surrounding community. In her downtime, she can be found enjoying time with her family and in the beautiful Colorado Rockies. And when I mentioned this to Valerie, that we were partnering with Tessa, she was very excited to do this. So really appreciate you, Valerie.
Thank you,
She's going to
Valerie.
tell us her story and play us.
So welcome, Valerie.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate you guys all having me out for this. I'm really looking forward to it. So I'm going to play a little tune for you that was recorded by my band Fireline. And it's a tune you'll recognize, but I actually rewrote the song and rearranged it. So I'll go ahead and start with that, then I'll probably give a little bit about myself and what I do. And can you guys hear me okay? Yeah? Okay, is it a little too loud? All right, it might be loud when I start doing my thing here. So if it is, if you're in the front row, I'm sorry, apologize now. I'll try to keep it down from what I would normally do. But I'm really happy to be here, and thank you guys for having me. Let's have some fun. I'm excited about these films.
I've been for a walk on the way.
I did all the percussion overdubs, all the singing on that. It was a really good time. So Kathy kind of asked me to talk a little bit about myself, which I don't tend to like to do. I'm a drummer, so is there any musicians in the house? A couple other musicians in the house. So drummers are technically and bass players that we like to hang back. We like to be in the back. We don't like to be up front. We don't like to talk a lot, and we don't like to sing a lot. But I'm coming out of my shell a little bit. So I'll talk a little bit about how I got started. I started playing drums when I was 10 years old. Got inspired by my mother, who's actually right here in the front row. So God for her, she's been very supportive. Both of my parents have. But so I come from a family of empowered women. On my dad's side, my grandma, she was actually a first generation to go get a master's degree in the 1940s, which was pretty difficult for that time. And then her and my grandfather, they moved to California during the Black Panther movement. She was a white female teacher in a predominantly African American school right during segregation, right when it was ending. So she was tough, and she kind of taught me, don't let anyone stop you from doing what you want to do, kind of thing. And my mother, she's the one that actually suggested I play the drums, which a lot of parents, they think she's crazy. Like, what's wrong with that woman? Like, telling your kid to play the drums. Well, I wanted to play the trumpet. She's actually a very good trumpet player. And I wanted to be like her. I wanted to play music, and got diagnosed with asthma. Tried to play the trumpet. It just wasn't a good thing. And she's like, well, maybe you should try percussion. I'm like, well, I don't know about all that. So I actually started playing percussion when I was 10. By the time I was 13, I was actually full-time touring on the road. So I spent a lot of time just practicing just to get through things, because I was like, this is what I want to do. I fell in love with it and was like, well, if I can't do anything else because of my health issues, I'm going to do what I can do and have fun doing it. So started doing that. It's been really good. Let's see, I got some notes here on what else I wanted to touch on. So, there was a time, my first gig. So my first gig I played, I was 13, and I played in this rock band. I was subbing. And so these guys took my dad outside at a jam session, and they were kind of like, we need to talk to you. My dad's going, huh? Like, that's kind of weird. And he looks at me and he's like, if I don't come back in here in 5 minutes, you need to come out and call the cops and see what happened to me. So I'm looking at the clock. I'm 13, get kind of worried. Go outside, find out he's not coming back. I'm like, what happened? He's like, hey, Val, some of these guys, and they actually want to hire you to sub for them this weekend. I'm like, what? You want me to sub? So I was kind of shocked that I got a gig that soon, but it was a good fit. It was called One Ton Trio. They used to play around here. They were actually from Indiana, and it was all mostly original music and classic rock. So I started playing with them right away. I had to rehearse, and I hadn't played that long before, so my hands were bleeding, and I grew up really fast overnight. And so I went into this club and was trying to set up my drums. My dad was helping me. We're Raider fans, by the way, so you can boo me for that. So my dad's wearing his Raiders cap, and he's helping me bring in my gear. I was too small to even haul my own gear at that time. So he's helping me set up on the stage and everything. And the bar owner comes in, and he's like, oh man, he's like, I don't like Raider fans in this, in this facility. You need to get out of here. And also, why do you have your kid in here? Because, kids are not allowed in here. This is a bar. And my dad's like, well, I'm not the drummer. And he's like, well, what do you mean you're not the drummer? And he's like, well, she is. And he kind of looks at me and he's like, you're going to play the drums? Yeah, really? Okay, we'll see about that. And I just kind of was like, I was in shock. I'm like, wow, I didn't realize there was a stigma against how your age and your gender was on the drums. I didn't know. So I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna play the drums. You got a problem with that? He's like, well, I guess not. And I was like, yeah, you can tell my dad to leave his Raiders gear on too. That shouldn't be an issue either. So we ended up, I played 2 songs into the set, and the owner just came up and shook my hand. It was pretty cool. But going through that, through growing up, being a female drummer, there's not a lot of us out there. They're just hard to find. There's few and far in between. And so it has been kind of interesting when you go places. Either people are really interested or they misjudge you and they're like, well, you can't do that. It's a male thing. And it's really not. And what's been cool though is over the last 10, 15 years of doing this, I've noticed that there's more females in music. There's more festivals like this and things like that. And it's been really cool to see that. And just in general, like all over the country, at least here, that females are absolutely allowed to do the same jobs that males are allowed to do now. And there's not really as much a stigma. It may be uncommon, but I feel like it's getting there where it needs to be. So that's been kind of an interesting experience going through that change, but I've enjoyed it and definitely lucky enough to have found my passion at such a young age that I was able to just keep with it and get through that adversity, because there were some times when I was probably pretty down on myself and thought maybe I should just quit this, and because I got a lot of that where people would look at me and just question my abilities before they even listened to me. So it was very frustrating, especially growing up and trying to go to high school and then play gigs on the weekends and go on the road and then come back and act like I'm a normal person in, ninth grade or whatever. It's been a different life. But now, so what I'm doing now is started my own band, Fireline, with a good buddy of mine, Wayne Humphrey. Ron Sandvik plays guitar and Jim Robertson plays guitar for us as well. And you can see our logo on the bass drum. I also play for a lady named Sandy Wells. She's a singer-songwriter here in town as well. But with Fireline, our main goal was we're going to try to just make this happen as fast as possible. So within a year, we recorded an album. We're actually working on a second one. We're pretty much full-time touring regionally right now. And we partnered with Mount Carmel Veterans Service Center, which is, if you haven't heard of it, it's basically they just help veterans in the community with anything they need. So we partnered with them, so we donate 10% of all our music sales, and we do a lot of community outreach for fire, police, and EMS, because the name Fireline comes from the Waldo Canyon Fire, if any of you guys are familiar with that. So Wayne was playing in Flying W Wranglers over there, and his doghouse bass burned down. Like his bass, his rig, they lost everything. So they kind of disbanded, and they have a new band now. But so we started playing together about 5 years after that, and we thought we need to come up with a name that's kind of like gets people's attention and maybe makes them think like we're starting something from ground zero, because that's what happened. So we thought of Fireline. And so yeah, you can check that out if you guys like country music. It's firelinemg.com. So yeah, it's been really good, really busy, and let's see what else here. Well, do you guys have any questions for me before I play a little drum solo? Anything? Nothing? You might think of something. Yes?
When are you gonna play your drum solo?
I'm gonna do it right now. If that's cool. And this may be loud, so just if it is, I apologize.